Every year, the Texas power grid narrowly avoids emergency, and most people don't even realize it. ERCOT has already warned they may not be able to keep the lights on this summer. So what's happening? Who's to blame? And what do they plan to do about it? Also, after years of slower production growth, we thought the West Texas oil fields may be drying up, but we weren't thinking deeply enough. Groundbreaking innovation has recently expanded our reach. These first few deep zone wells are pushing past our old limits and pumping 30% better than our best. Let's get a pressure reading on these two reports. Welcome back to the Crude Tube, the pipeline supplying you with the must-know news and events from the energy sector. Today is April 21st, 2026, and crude is trading at about $89 per barrel. Today, we keep it local. We tap into the Texas power grid and we discuss the exciting prospect of the Permian providing prolonged U.S. energy independence. Let's pick up and survey both of these situations. Topic 1. Recently, on a blazing afternoon, Texans cranked their ACs as temperatures spiked early. The Texas power grid had a near-death experience. Demand for electricity shot up to near record levels for this time of year, about 75 gigawatts, which is enough to power about 15 million homes at once. At the same time, the wind was barely blowing. Texas relies heavily on wind power, especially in the springtime, but output from these massive turbines dropped to just 5% of their capacity. That's like showing up late to a potluck with just an open sleeve of saltine minis. So the grid operators at ERCOT did what they always do in a pinch. They sent out conservation alerts begging people to turn off unnecessary lights and delay running their dishwashers. And it worked, but barely. They dodged rolling blackouts by a hair. Here's the intriguing question. If Texas has more power plants than any other state, why is it constantly flirting with disaster? The answer lies in something ERCOT just admitted publicly. They don't have enough dispatchable generation, meaning the power you can turn on whenever you need it, such as natural gas, coal, nuclear, or batteries. Wind and solar are great when they're blowing and shining, but when they're not, you need a reliable backup. And Texas, in its rush to build cheap renewables, didn't build enough fast start gas plants or storage. So on that near miss day, we had plenty of gigawatts on paper, but not enough that ERCOT could actually command to run. Here's the single biggest change ERCOT is pushing for, and why it will mean fewer blackouts, but it might mean higher bills. ERCOT wants to create a new market incentive that pays power plants to simply exist and be ready, not just to run. It's called the Performance Credit Mechanism, and it's designed to lure investors to build giant battery farms and gas peaker plants, often referred to simply as peakers, power plants designed to operate during periods of high electricity demand, known as peak demand. It's meant to replace current energy-only markets, which clearly doesn't guarantee enough reliable capacity. Studies from ERCOT and the Bradle Group suggest a performance credit mechanism would cost about $3 to $4 billion per year across the whole Texas market. Spread across Texas households and businesses, that equals roughly $6 per month for a typical home. This is lower than the cost of capacity market used in other grids, which could be $10 to $12 a month. I expected this number to be higher, but the PCM targets only a few hundred hours per year of scarcity, not 24/7 capacity payments. Also, battery costs are falling, which helps out. If the PCM passes, next summer's heat wave could be just hot, not dangerous. If it doesn't pass, be sure to keep your phone charged, stock up on batteries, canned food, and water. What do you think? Is the small monthly premium worth avoiding blackouts? Texans are probably looking at the cost of a streaming service, as long as they don't go full Netflix on us. But because Texas has a deregulated market, how that passes through fixed charged versus per kilowatt fee would depend on your electric provider. As of April 2026, ERCOT has not yet implemented a PCM. It's still under consideration at the commission. Topic 2. The most productive oil field in the U.S. is experiencing a diminutive boom, and it's coming from even deeper underground than anyone expected. For years, experts believed the Permian Basin was gradually approaching its limits of inventory. We assumed we knew where the best rock was. We drilled it, and what remained would be less productive. But new groundbreaking data suggests the Permian isn't running out of oil. We've only scratched the surface. Geologists and engineers are now turning their attention to deeper formations, specifically zones like the Barnett-Woodford and Wolfcamp D. These aren't new discoveries in the traditional sense. We've known about them for years, but until recently, they were considered either too difficult or too expensive to fully develop, and experts are changing direction on that idea fast. Thanks to improvements in drilling precision, hydraulic fracturing techniques, and subsurface imaging, Companies are now able to access these deeper layers more effectively than ever before, and the results are turning hard hats across the industry. Fresh estimates suggest there are now around 55,000 economically viable drilling locations in the Permian, an increase of about 10% compared to last year. That's not just a small bump, that's a massive expansion in future potential. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Some of these deeper zones are actually outperforming the legacy formations, the ones that built the Permian's reputation. Production results are coming in roughly 30% higher than expected. So, better wells in rock that was once overlooked. This isn't just about squeezing out a little extra oil. It's about extending the lifespan of the entire basin. Instead of declining sooner than expected, the Permian could remain a dominant force in global oil supply for years, possibly decades longer. And that has ripple effects far beyond Texas and New Mexico. It impacts global energy markets and U.S. energy independence. Let's dig into what's really driving these breakthroughs. How are companies unlocking these high-performance zones, and why weren't they being fully developed until now? Over the past decade, advances in technology have gradually made it possible for oil and gas companies to safely and efficiently reach deeper rock. It starts with better imaging. Companies like Chevron now use cloud-based, AI-enhanced seismic tools that produce much clearer pictures of complex underground geology in less time than traditional methods. Also, firms like TGS have run extensive 3D seismic surveys across broad areas, giving operators the clarity they need to accurately place wells in deeper, thicker rock layers. Then, AI and data integration speed up the process even further. Operators such as Permian Resources use large language models and AI-driven systems to analyze drilling logs, production data, and completion results in minutes instead of weeks. That quick feedback helps engineers adjust their plans on the fly, and AI tools can evaluate thousands of underground variables at once to find the best landing zones without needing to buy more land. Next come major drilling and completion breakthroughs. Improved directional drilling now lets crews stay within extremely narrow target zones, more than 15,000 feet deep, while longer horizontal laterals maximize contact with the production rock. Real-time geosteering and rotary steerable systems keep the drill bit on target. On the completion side, new electric frac fleets, or e-frac, provide more consistent pressure, and smarter cluster design improves fracture coverage in deeper, high-stress rock, where older shallow zone models simply don't work. Finally, timing and money matter. After the industry downturn from 2014 to 2020, most companies focused on higher return shallow wells instead of risking deeper tests. But now, with oil prices holding steady well above $60 per barrel, and with the economics for deeper wells being tested and proven, operators are finally allocating capital to go after those deeper zones. These are just a couple of the things I found interesting this week. I hope you found this interesting and informative. Be sure to hit the bell and the thumbs up if you'd like to stay up to date with me in this industry. Thank you for your time. As always, I'll keep digging. And until next time, take it easy.